Dodger baseball. The Dodgers are building a dynasty.
You got it, Ronnie, the parade. We got a parade. The Dodgers punch back and head to the championship series. Ohtani starts the 50-50 club. Mookie Magic. Freeman hits the ball to right field. She is gone. Start the party, Los Angeles. Your Dodgers have won the World Series.
Think blue, bleed blue, and I'm out.
What is up, Dodgers Nation, and welcome to another episode of Dodgers Dugout Live, the #1 Dodgers show and podcast on YouTube. Everything you need to know about your boys in blue in less than an hour. My name is Doug McKain, credential member of Dodgers Media. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMac_LA. And we are just Tom Candiotti, AJ Ellis, Blake Trinan days away from opening day. Dodgers baseball is right around the corner. Dodger baseball is almost here, guys. It could not be more exciting. We've got a jam-packed show, but if you haven't yet, do me a huge favor. Subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, hit the like button. Also, subscribe to our new Discord channel. We have reached 1,100 members on Discord. That 1,100 need to subscribe to as well to get the nation access for our exclusive content, call-ins, interviews, merch, lots of stuff we're going to be loading up throughout the entire season. It's $19.99 in the Discord, but definitely, if you haven't yet, subscribe to the Discord, subscribe to the channel, and also drop your comments down below. We've got our super producer, Noise by Noel Sanchez. He is rocking with us as always. Today he's looking for all your chats, all your comments down below, so fire away.
What up, family? What up?
Of course, every episode of Dodgers Dugout Live starts with the leadoff.
Leading off, the hottest story in Dodger baseball.
And the hottest story in Dodger baseball is they have made a trade, and it is that they are sending recently DFA'd reliever Ryan Brasier to the Chicago Cubs. The Dodgers are trading the veteran reliever that had $4.5 million left on his contract to the Cubs for a player to be named later or cash consideration. So it's going to be a player to be named later or cash. And this was the move that I predicted. If you guys have been watching the show for weeks now, I thought that you looked at the 40-man roster, you looked at the 26-man roster. This was the spot that they were going to go with, that they were going to probably try to move Ryan Brasier because you already had a surplus of relievers after bringing in Kirby Yates and Tanner Scott and re-signing Blake Trinan. You still have Michael Kopech and Anthony Banda and Alex Vesia and Evan Phillips and Brusdar Graterol will be back at some point. They knew that with Brasier, he was the guy that was probably going to be on the chopping block just because they owed him $4.5 million. And I thought that was going to be the guy. That's who was the guy, just because that's what made the most sense. Now, Brasier, in his time with the Dodgers, he was really good. I mean, he signed a 2-year deal before the 2024 season, and that was after he was one of those reclamation projects that the Dodgers brought in during the season, and they completely turned his season around. With the Red Sox in 2023, he struggled. They bring him into this Dodgers organization. They work their magic. They sprinkle that Dodgers dust on him, and he went on to be, along with Evan Phillips and Brusdar Graterol, one of the Dodgers' best high-leverage relievers down the stretch, and he parlayed that into a 2-year deal with this team. I remember talking to Ryan Brasier and hearing from him how thankful he was to end up with this organization because they were able to just completely get his career back on track. And he told me that he had doubts. He had a lot of doubts about the trajectory of his career, and the Dodgers completely turned that around, and he'll be forever thankful to them for doing just that. And they need to clear space, and it came down to this. They owed him $4.5 million. You need the roster spot. He had no options. That is what it came down to. You got Blake Trinan, you got Kopech, Phillips, Banda, Scott, Yates. The only guy that can be sent to the minors is Alex Vesia. He has an option, but he's too good. You don't want to have him at the minor league level. You need him at the big league level, so he will not be sent down because you only sent down for performance-related demotions. And Vesia has been one of the best left-handed relievers in the sport over the last season. So since Brasier couldn't be sent down to the minors, if he could and he could provide depth from that standpoint, yeah, absolutely they would have kept him, but he'll be pitching with the Cubs. And it really makes me think that, wow, that should be a reminder of how good things are from a depth standpoint for the Dodgers. Things are so good that you are DFAing someone that had a 1.89 ERA in his time with the Dodgers. In a season and a half, he had a 1.89 ERA with 63 strikeouts, 15 walks, had a 2.83 FIP in 66 and 2/3 innings. This is as high quality of a DFA as you're going to see from a reliever in Major League Baseball. So, look, he'll be back in LA April 11th through the 13th. Cubs-Dodgers series in LA. Hope you get a nice little video montage. Hopefully he'll get his ring, and that'll be that. Now, as far as what the Dodgers will get in return, like I said a couple weeks ago too, I thought that they're going to go the route of trying to add some quality to their farm system. Just look at what they did in the Michael Busch trade, getting Jackson Ferris, getting Zaire Hope, two guys that have continued to climb up the prospect rankings list, and that's what they're going to do. Cash consideration's not going to really do anything for this team. They got a lot of greenbacks. They got a lot of cash. They're fine from that standpoint. So I fully anticipate them adding some type of lottery ticket prospect guy that they think that they can mold into something that can either help them win, provide some depth, use a trade piece. Later, we're talking about some of the best trades in the Andrew Friedman era, and that is kind of what they do here. I mean, we've seen again. But Ryan Brasier, he was big last season. He was big in the series against the Diamondbacks. This year, I think the thing with Ryan Brasier that was the biggest difference is Ryan Brasier wasn't great at having a success and being effective with inherited runners. In the series against the Mets, gave the home run in the NLCS, and that really kind of told me, look, they definitely see some regression potentially. They see some regression from that standpoint. And during the 2024 season, 10 of the 11 inherited runners that he had ended up crossing home plate. So that's not what you want out of a reliever. And before that, I mean, that's one thing that he was really, really good at throughout his time with the Dodgers. I will say that when he came back from the injury last year, he was dealing with that calf injury. He was good. He had a 2.76 ERA, a 1.94 FIP in 17 games. That expected ERA at 3.46 was the best for an entire season for him since 2018. And the walks were down too, just a 4.5% walk rate. But look, it's crowded because of the success that they had and getting the guys that they wanted. I think that Ryan Brazier's path to staying on this roster in this bullpen was, hey, do you not get Kirby Yates? Do you not get Tanner Scott? So he's going to help the Cubs. The Dodgers will get some prospects in return. And I still think, to transition here, the Dodgers bullpen in 2025 has the potential to be the best bullpen in the history of the franchise because of the depth that they do have, the different looks that they can give you. And one of the big reasons why you have just a treasure trove of depth is you found Anthony Banda last season. Anthony Banda, who's pitching well for the Guardians in AAA, the Dodgers bought out that contract. A lot of people are like, what the heck did the Dodgers see in Anthony Banda? And they turned him into one of the best lefty relievers in all of Major League Baseball. Last season, he was great for LA. I mean, a 3.08 ERA, had 2 saves, appeared in 48 games, had 50 strikeouts, pitched almost 50 innings, and they found someone that is cheap. They found someone that is going to be here for the foreseeable future that they don't have to break the bank on. And it just goes to show that the talent acquisition that the Dodgers do have. I mean, in his time just starting right out of the gates, it looked like maybe he wasn't going to be someone that was going to stick. I mean, the Dodgers, they acquired him for cash considerations on May 17th of last season from the Guardians, and he came out of the gates very, very strong. Allowed just a 1 earned run in his first 11 2/3 innings with the Dodgers. And on the season, just great numbers. 3.29 expected ERA. I mean, like I said, the strikeouts, the walks, the dependability, and the big difference for Banda was how they showed him to use all 4 of his pitches, how his slider was adjusted. They changed the shape of his slider just a little bit. And at Dodgers Fest, I asked Anthony Banda about some of the changes that he made after joining the Dodgers and what really unlocked him. How did he have that breakout season with LA? And here's what he told me.
If you had a breakout season last year, what was the number one thing that you think led to just unlocking your potential and just how much confidence you have heading into this year?
I think a lot has to do with the communication at first. The first message Doc told me was, hey, be yourself. And everybody around in the group was, invited me with open arms. They welcomed me. It helped me settle down really, really fast. And then we got to work with Connor McGinnis. We tinkered around with the slider grip. We found something that worked. We had the idea, how to, really, really understand how to throw it. And then once I took grasp of that, I think that's when it really, really took off, and I started to really understand, like, okay, I can really, really do this in the sense of, having that fastball slider combo along with the sinker changeup, having 4 different weapons and utilizing those. And the communication comes with that, and they were just phenomenal with that, to be honest, as far as that, and just having me to understand my strengths a little bit better. So those things are I think what's contributed me to having a good season.
So you heard that. I mean, he's all in. The communication, the adjustments, they were made, and he took full advantage. And I think it's also just embracing what it means to be a Dodger, embracing the fans. The fans love Anthony Banda. There was a lookalike contest for the guy, and I asked him about how big that was for him to have this community, to have this fan base be all in on Anthony Banda, have that lookalike contest, if he saw the lookalike contest. And here's what Banda had to say.
And Anthony, just what has been your reaction to how much Dodgers fans have embraced you? Talked about the lookalike contest. I believe you said you didn't see it, but does it feel like you found a home here in LA?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been amazing. The community has been amazing. It's easy to connect. It's easy to smile and to, enjoy the presence, enjoy the support. I did not see the lookalike contest. I didn't even know that was going on. Someone had mentioned it to me, but I didn't know exactly what was going on. But I think, the community taking me in, showing me all the love and everything and support. I couldn't have thanked them anymore. It's special. It's really special, and I believe that this is going to be a very special place for me in my heart and my family, and I'm very, very thankful for it.
Awesome. Here's the guy that won, by the way. This is the guy that won.
Is he here?
No, he's not. Only he might be, but
I mean, you guys be the
dead
judge,
ringer,
right?
man. Dead ringer.
I'm telling you, he looked more like Anthony Banda than Anthony Banda. It was really cool, too. Anthony Banda, got to get him on this show pretty soon because he's a big fan of the show. It was really cool. He came up to us, talked to us about how he watches. He's a fan of Dodgers Dougout Live. Appreciate that.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Anthony.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
I love this show, man.
I appreciate it, man. Awesome.
I watch your stuff all the time.
Awesome, man. We're having you on, man. Take it easy, man. You're the man.
Man, root for the guy's success. I think that he's ready to start the year like he pitched throughout the season, and that's what I'm most excited about for him is he's had this entire offseason to go through the analytics, to go through the pitch mix, to use the different grips, to find the ways that made him successful with the Dodgers and use that for an entire season after saying, hey, I did it on the biggest stage, right? I did in the postseason. I did it for this franchise. Excited about his future. I think do not sleep on Anthony Banda, man. 96, 97 mile per hour heater, a slider that bends, that slider, the back foot that is really, really effective. So really excited about his future. But really the marquee name, the biggest addition for the Dodgers bullpen is Tanner Scott. He was the guy, the best reliever that was available. The Dodgers got him, and he's a quirky guy. He's a fun guy. You saw him at his introductory press conference where he's saying, hey, which mic is it? Kind of left and right, looking at which mic it is. And he had talked about his relationship with Evan Phillips and that Evan Phillips texted him one too many times. Of course, they have a relationship from back in their days with the Baltimore Orioles. But I think what really stood out to me with Tanner Scott is he saw firsthand what this Dodgers team did because he was on the Padres. Before the Padres lost to this team, it wasn't his fault. He dominated against Shohei Ohtani. He was unhittable in that series for the Dodgers. And the Dodgers said, you know what? We want you to join us. We don't want you to be a problem for Shohei, a problem for us if we have to face you in the postseason. And I asked Tanner Scott about that. How big was that for him to join a team that is always in the World Series mix? It's is always in the postseason. That is as all in on chasing championships as any team in the sport. And here's what Tanner Scott had to say.
Tanner, you kind of saw firsthand what this team is capable of in the DS. Just this, how much did that factor into your decision just to join a team that has World Series aspirations every single year?
I definitely just want to win. I mean, it's a great team, and I wanted to be a part of it. So, yeah, it was definitely in the field of what I wanted to do.
And there's never been any issue with his stuff. The stuff has always been elite for a lefty. 97-mile-per-hour heater, a power slider, fastball slider combination, good against lefties, good against righties. It's always been the walks. Can you reduce the walk rate? But the good thing is he's improving from that standpoint. I mean, he was in the 15 to 20% range. You see him down to the 8 to 12% range. And look at first pitch strikes. Last season, the first pitch strikes for Tanner Scott improved. There was an uptick there. He had a 67.7% first pitch strike rate in 2024. And that usually is an indicator that you can shore up that command. League average is 61.5% for first pitch strikes. He's above league average. So when you can start with strike one and get ahead of hitters, it's just about completing it. And he doesn't need help from that standpoint. There's a method to his madness. And if you look at his projections for next season, it's projected by Fangraphs to have a 3.07 ERA, a 3.26 FIP, a 3.35 expected FIP, a strikeout rate close to 30%, and the walk rate is at 10.8%. I think it's going to be below 10% with the Dodgers. I think that he'll have a walk rate below 10%. Might not be minuscule, right? Might not be one of the best. Might not be in the 4 or 5% range, but I think it's going to be less than double digits. I think that is going to be an improvement that he's going to experience with this Dodgers team. They got the best reliever available, and that is going to change the game for them. And then you look at this rest of this bullpen. I mean, Kirby Yates is a great splitter, doesn't rely on velocity, has experience closing games, was great for the last 2 years for the Braves and the Rangers. Also, he wants to win a World Series. He wants to put that World Series ring on his finger, and that's the biggest reason why the Dodgers were able to acquire him. Evan Phillips is another guy that you trust. I think Evan Phillips is going to benefit this year from the additions because it's not going to be all on his shoulders. He's going to be able to be used in favorable spots. So it's not like, oh, Evan Phillips is the closer. He's going to have to face that question anymore. He's got to go back to being the high leverage fireman Phillips, right? Dr. Phil, the guy that used that cutter, used that sweeper, induces soft contact. And I think I'm looking for a big year for Evan Phillips. Had some injuries here and there in 2024. I think 2025 is a big year for Evan Phillips. Alex Vesia, the big difference between him and Alex Vesia was the ups and downs. Alex Vesia has continued to get better. And the big difference between Alex Vesia in 2024 was he started strong, he performed well throughout the season, and did not have a dip in his performance. Years past, the Alex Vesia experience was rocky first start, you're seeing some issues, maybe he gets sent down, and then he gets bumped back up, and then he is lights out for the rest of the way. That wasn't the difference for him. That wasn't the issue for him. Wire to wire, he was really, really good to great for most of the 2024 season. And I asked Alex Vesia about that. What was the big difference between last season versus years past? Because it was his most consistent season to date.
Alex, last year you had your best and most consistent season from wire to wire. What was the biggest key to that, and how much confidence does that give you heading into this season?
Yeah, I would pretty much say it's due to my the off-season lifting. Every year I feel like I come in a little too tight, but last year I felt great. We changed just specific days of certain lifts and whatnot, and we still kept the volume, but I was able to recover a little bit more and not be as tight. So going into spring training, and then basically that first month, I was able to get into my mechanics a lot easier.
Yeah, and you spent the whole offseason as a World Series champion. Has it sunk in yet, and just how's that feel?
Yeah, absolutely. It for sure sunk in. When we did the parade and I'm sitting on the back of the bus with the belt and everything, that's when for myself I definitely was like, all right, yeah, this is it, here we go. But it honestly makes me hungry to do it again, and that just the accomplishment feeling, that feeling, man, when watching Walker throw the last pitch and us running out, that just sticks in my mind.
He's a vibe, man. Think about him with that WWE belt at the championship parade. I could see him doing some Ric Flair woos. That is who he is. He's electric. He's exciting. He brings that passion, that intensity. And it's great to see this version of Alex Vesia. But this bullpen's going to be a massive strength, barring health. They're a veteran-laden group, but they also have young talent with explosive arms like a Michael Kopech. It's just about staying healthy for this group. And you'll know this is a great bullpen if we're not talking about bullpen trades early, if we're not talking about bullpen additions towards the deadline. That's my number one goal. Can we make it through a season where you don't have to go out there and get a Ryan Brasier, a Chris Martin? You don't have to go out there and find that reclamation project reliever, because that's not what this team really likes to do, because they don't want to give up prospects or big assets for relievers because of how volatile they are. But let me know down below in the comments section, how high are you on this Dodgers bullpen? Do you think that it's going to be a strength for this team? On all your takes on the Dodgers pen. Let's go to the chat, though. We got Darren Shepard. Can't believe spring training is right around the corner. Fast off season, of course, when we win. Haha. I know, right? Let's get used to it, right? Short off seasons. Rogelio Soto. Doug, my boy. Hearing you from SLC, Salt Lake City, Utah. What's up, my man Rogelio Soto? Appreciate you rocking with us out in Utah. Michael B. got August tickets against the Cardinals. Those tickets were freaking expensive. WTF. Yeah, I mean, you're paying for contracts. You're paying for a great experience, right? I mean, I'd rather pay more for tickets and watch a team win the World Series and have Shohei Ohtani and Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts in this list of stars than not pay a lot of tickets and see the Angels and what they bring to the table, right? It kind of comes with the territory. Mookie Magic, spring training can't come soon enough. Sean Klein, chicka, let's go Dodgers. Okay, I see what you did right there. I'll give you a let's go Dodgers. Leon J, need to get off Gratterall, can't stay healthy. I would have kept Brasier. Interesting. Got a interesting take right there. I still think that the price of Brusdar, the potential of Brusdar, it still made sense. I mean, the truth is with Brasier, $4.5 million is $9+ million at 110% surcharge, which what happens when you're in the last tax bracket. So there's that factor as well. And they're just really high on Brusdar Gratterall. I mean, when he's right, he's very effective. He's the bazooka for a reason. He can induce soft contact. So they just weren't going to do that. Carmen Alexander, oh my gosh, the bullpen will be even more fire than last year. Can't wait. We got BC Brasier. Wasn't great in the playoffs this year, but he had a good regular season. Yeah, and that's what it's all about, really. I mean, you want to be good when it matters most. And I definitely think that if he was lights out throughout the postseason, maybe they would have considered keeping him. Maybe they would think longer and harder about DFAing him. But yeah, I mean, if I'm Brasier, I just blame it on pitchers wanting to be Dodgers, right? I mean, that's really what it comes down to. And Tanner Scott and Kirby Yates wanted to be in Dodger blue and chase championships and get paid along the way. Brianna Rochelle, question, D-Mac, what jersey would you get, Sasaki, Ohtani, or Yamamoto? Well, I do have an Ohtani. So out of Yamamoto and Sasaki, man, I think I would just get Yamamoto just because I would go down the order, right? I'll get my Yamamoto and I'll get my Sasaki, but I do like the 11, and it's so fresh, it's so new. I did notice during Dodgers Fest that the players were wearing the replica jerseys. They weren't wearing the authentic jerseys. So hopefully that means that Nike will be presenting new jerseys and they'll have made some adjustments. You saw during Roki Sasaki's introductory press conference, he had the bigger letters. So that's something to be very encouraged about if you're a big jersey nerd like myself. But you know what? Why not both, man? Just break the bank. Give me Yamamoto. Give me a Roki Sasaki. But if I had to pick the two, I think I'm going Yamamoto, Yamamania, and then I'll get my Roki a little later. Eric Jackson, just hope the World Series hangover doesn't happen the first month. Should be the best bullpen we've ever had. Yeah, I mean, we saw in 2018, they had definitely had a World Series hangover, but just look at these guys. I mean, they're already in Arizona. They're already at Camelback Ranch putting in work. I don't think complacency is going to be an issue with this team. I truly don't. They know what they're playing for. This team is still hungry. Mookie said he wants more rings on his fingers. He wants to fill up this hand. Shohei Ohtani said he wants to win 9 World Series titles. So I don't think this team is satisfied at all whatsoever. I think they're as hungry as they even were last year to go out there and win a World Series title. David E., do you think D-May goes to the bullpen with the innings restrictions? It's a good question there. And we'll answer that one during the 7th inning stretch. We'll answer that during the 7th inning stretch. But let's switch gears. I want to talk a little bit about Shohei Ohtani. Because he did a tell-all in this magazine called Number Magazine, which, by the way, in the magazines in Japan, they open the opposite way. And he had some very interesting comments in this magazine. Very interesting comments about his first year with the Dodgers, kind of some of the things that he encountered. By the way, they did a little thing on your boy on this one. They talked about how we got the most watched and listened to Dodgers podcast. So I really appreciate Number Magazine.
Profile, baby.
Yeah, there we go. But absolutely. But let's dive into it because there's a lot to unpack in this article here with Shohei Ohtani, because I think that he's definitely a little more open, especially when he's talking to the Japanese media. And this was a very kind of look. I mean, this was their 111th special issue, and he talked about the goals. What's the next goal for him? What's the next goal? You won your World Series, and you probably could guess this. Shohei said that would be back-to-back championships, wouldn't it? It's probably more difficult than winning a single championship. Throughout the long history, there have been over 100 teams that have won the World Series over the past 100 years, but there have only been a handful of teams that have achieved back-to-back victories, 7 teams in the past. I like how he knew that number. And none of the 21st century, the probability of winning back-to-back titles has certainly decreased. So if we win the World Series again next year, I think it would be something truly special. I love that. He wants to win back-to-back. He understands the significance, the opportunity that the 2025 Dodgers do have in entering that rare air of teams that have been able to do something special. We talked about it yesterday. Miguel Rojas saying, I want to win 120 games. That's the expectation. The team could go 162-0, but if they don't win the World Series, no one's going to care. It's going to mean nothing. If you win the World Series and you combine that with a great regular season that's historic, then fine, that's awesome. But the only major priority is winning the title and going back-to-back. So that is clearly top of mind for Shohei Ohtani. He also was asked, are you seriously aiming for 10 World Series titles with the Dodgers in your 10-year contract? And Shohei said, of course, isn't that the goal? Every year is a challenge. And I believe the owner, the front office, and everyone, they're working to become the best in the world. I think the most important thing is whether the team is all heading in the same direction. This year, after focusing solely on batting, he don't want to be pitching again. So that is definitely the goal, winning World Series every single year. Will it happen? Probably not, but that certainly is the goal for him in 2025. Now, he was talking about how his approach to the plate has changed. And he was asked about going 50-50 and having 54 home runs and hitting over 300, and he went past his OPS goal. This is a guy that sets goals, and he just absolutely obliterates them, but he also has adjusted along the way. He was asked about the approach of the plate and how it's changed throughout the years. He said, I feel like I've been gradually improving. There are many factors that have brought me this far. I watch various players and try to incorporate the good aspects into my own game. I've also been seeking the ideal form at Driveline, a training facility located near Seattle that scientifically analyzes players' movements to enhance performance. I'm just really happy and encouraged that all the things I've tried are finally taking shape. So you don't really think of Shohei as one of these Driveline guys, right? Driveline up in Seattle, up in Washington, the place where a lot of pitchers go to try to add some ticks to their velocity. Kirsch went there. I mean, there's a lot of examples of players going there to try to benefit themselves. But even a guy like Shohei, just my big takeaway from that comment there, even someone like Shohei Ohtani, the greatest player on the planet, the unicorn, can say, you know what, I want to get better. You know what, let's go to Driveline. Let's see what they have for me. And you combine preparation with luck and talent, and you get all these things, and you get a Shohei Ohtani. And that is a good example of that. You can never be good enough, right? I mean, take him to Driveline, and you saw what the result is, a 50-50 season. And he even said, yes, both physically and technically, I can get better. I feel there's still room to expanding the swing trajectory to improve consistency. I'm not always able to swing exactly as I envision, so that's something I can definitely work on in practice. So even this dude thinks he can get better. Like, you already beat the game, bro. I mean, you're already elite in every category, and he thinks he can get better. So that's clearly a growth mindset beyond belief. Now, he was also asked about Decoy, and everyone's fascinated about Decoy, his relationship with him, and he was asked about Decoy, who I don't even need to look it up, the first dog to ever throw out a first pitch. And he said, originally I threw a toy and taught him to bring it, and he started bringing the toy back. Then I combined that with stay and practice having him wait on the mound and bring the ball back. I did a lot of that. The reward was a toy where the ball would pop out when he pressed it himself. It's like play by yourself, and he laughs. But the toy gets chewed up and broken right away. So he literally was training his dog to do this for weeks before they pulled that off. So that was pretty cool. He was asked about his current happiness, and I think that is an area that fascinates me the most about Shohei Ohtani. Like, dude, what do you do when you're not playing baseball? Like, what do you do? It feels like you're always on the field doing something to get better. What makes you happy? Like, what do you like to do? And he said, my current small happiness, well, this year, the environment has changed. Decoy's here. My wife is with me. And within that, what do I feel happy about? I've been so busy that I haven't been able to go anywhere. So I'm thinking I like to go somewhere. Since I'm like this after my left shoulder surgery, it's not anything extravagant like a full-blown trip, but I'd like to go somewhere short. When I think about that, I feel happy, and that's my current joy. How sweet is that? Maybe he's talking about going to Hawaii. And he talked about getting married and how that has increased his happiness. He said, yes, living together and with my dog and my wife, yes, they have. For example, just yesterday, we decorated the Christmas tree together. I definitely wouldn't have done that on my own. Things like that have increased. Recently, we watched Fear Street together, and I wonder if that falls under the horror category. My wife originally liked horror movies like Stranger Things, and I like them too, so we watched the 3-part Fear Street series, each of which was under 2 hours. Since I couldn't go outside after my surgery, we were looking for things to enjoy inside the house. You're never going to find Shohei Ohtani tell any American media member what he's watching on Netflix, what he's doing at home. And here he's talking about decorating the Christmas tree together and watching Fear Street. And Noel, have you ever watched Fear Street?
I don't think I have.
Have you heard of it?
I don't think so. I might get roasted in the comments, but I haven't heard of it. What is it?
Let us know. I mean, I think it's like a scary thing on Netflix, but yeah, I mean, Fear Street sounds like what pitchers think when they're about to face Shohei Ohtani. I mean, but it's really cool to hear that, which is really, really neat. But
I remember when he was watching Breaking Bad during the postseason. That was fire. He revealed that, I think, in a social media video. Great series. And yeah, that was cool. So I really like his taste. So I'll probably give Fear Street a try just because he said that in the magazine.
I'm watching it tonight. There's no doubt about it. Just so I can talk in spring training and be like, hey man, just finish Fear Street. Let's talk all about it. You know what I mean? Like, I want to be that guy. But yeah, really cool to see that side of Shohei Ohtani. There's more to this book, this magazine. You can actually get this on Amazon too. You can translate it. You know, it's really cool. So definitely go pick this up. But coming up next, the 7th inning stretch. We're going to answer all your questions about your boys in blue. And then I'm going to give you my top 5 best trades in the Andrew Friedman era. That's coming up next on Dodgers Dugout Live. What up, Dodgers Nation? D-Mac here to remind you that if you have not yet, be sure to subscribe to the Dodgers Dugout Live podcast. You can find it wherever you get your podcast. So if you want to listen to the show in audio form, when you're driving to Dodgers Stadium, when you're driving from Dodgers Stadium, when you're commuting to work, wherever it is, you definitely want to lock into the podcast. We're going to start featuring some podcast exclusives, interviews. So definitely, even if you do watch the show daily on YouTube, be sure to subscribe to the Dodgers Dugout Live podcast wherever your podcast. So be sure to do that. It really supports the channel. And as always, think blue, bleed blue, and I'm out. And welcome back to Dodgers Dugout Live, the #1 Dodgers show and podcast on YouTube. Also, if you haven't yet, guys, go to gearup.la. If you want to pick up the best Dodgers merch in the game, go to www.gearup.la. We're dropping new merch all the time. Here's our Teoscar Hernandez Run It Back t-shirt to celebrate the return, the re-signing of Teoscar Hernandez. All some other good shirts over there too, man. Pick up the Kike Hernandez We Don't Give a F t-shirt. I'm pretty sure there'll be an uptick of those when hopefully he re-signs pretty soon. There's the Gibby Meet Freddie shirt. That moment, man, still gives me goosebumps just thinking about it. Freddie Freeman's walk-off grand slam against the Yankees in the World Series. Then you can also pick up our newest t-shirt, the celebration of the World Series. It has the World Series trophy there. You never get enough. Can never get enough World Series merch. I like the black too. The black and gold goes really hard. Another reminder to go check out our Discord. Just launched it. Over 1,100 members. Tons of exclusive stuff that we're rolling out with that. So definitely go and join. Behind the scenes content, interviews, Q&As, exclusive merch. You can call into Dodgers Dugout Live. We're going to launch that the end of this week. So if you want to call into the show, we're going to start playing your guys' audio. I want to hear you guys' awesome Dodgers fans' voices out there because this show is your show. I'm just hosting it, man. I mean, this is our show together as a group. Okay, guys. So let's start the 7th inning stretch. Talk to you guys. Anything you got? Anything you got in the world of Dodger baseball? Let it fly.
The 7th inning stretch.
A super chat from my man Vengeance, $5. Appreciate that. My Yamamoto and Teoscar jerseys, 2 World Series championship hoodies, and 2 World Series hats just came in 5 minutes before the show. Perfect timing. Let's go, Dodgers. Vengeance, you got merched up, man. I love that. The dead man of RWT, Paul Morales, says, what if they didn't need to look for a bullpen arm and move someone like Dustin May or Stein Kirsch to be a bullpen arm? It's no disrespect to him. Smoltz did it for over 3 or 4 seasons. That's a great point, dead man. And look, Smoltz went back, right? And Smoltz ended up in the Hall of Fame. I definitely think that has to be under strong consideration as far as Dustin May. I mean, I think Dustin May has the talent to be elite as a reliever, and sure, he could still get injured as a reliever. He has got 3/4 delivery that puts a lot of stress on the arm, but I would love to see them just bite the bullet and say, you know what? We're going to try Dustin May out in the bullpen, even if he does start the year in the rotation with Shohei out, and we'll see how things play out. We'll see if guys stay healthy throughout spring training. But to have, I think, a hybrid role makes a lot of sense to me. A guy that can give you multiple innings out of the pen, can open a game, can start a game, but maybe is leaning towards just being a high leverage guy throughout his career. I think that's where his money's at. If I'm Dustin May and I'm saying, hey, how can I make $100 million in this game? I think it's as a lights out reliever because the stuff is elite. It's just about staying on the mound. As far as Clayton Kershaw goes, his stuff isn't really built for a bullpen, right? He's not a high velocity guy. He's a creature of habit when it comes to his routine. He's known as a starter, right? So I think that for him, it's more of just a depth piece. But it'll be interesting to see how they work him in too, for sure. We got Stephen Blevins. Why didn't they put D-Mac on the show 25 cover? Facts, man. Facts, man. What's going on, MLB The Show? BR Madness. I appreciate that. That'd be cool to be on the show for sure, man. Could Shohei get to some of his innings requirements done in the bullpen? BR Madness. Yeah, I mean, he just has to just reestablish himself. It doesn't matter when or how. It's 20 and the plate appearances. Jose Aguirre, Nike said the jerseys will be changed for 2025 to how they used to be. Yeah, they did say that. I'm curious, though, will they go back to using the template that was closer to the majestic ones that we saw for so many years? That it's a little baggier, and are they going to still cut through the Dodgers word mark in the placket at that awkward spot is kind of what I'm wondering, too. So also, too, the color, too. I think that they were just slightly more brighter on the naked eye, to the naked eye with majestic. I want to see that wedding gown white. We got Milan 15. Does Ohtani make a Quakes rehab start? Wow. Just the thought of that, that'd be tough to secure. I almost think that, man, that's a really good question. I mean, he has to rehab. We'll see how the spring training goes. I think a lot of that's going to be based on how the bullpen spring training goes and when they want to ramp him up. It's not a guarantee, but I think if they really want to go about the process like we've seen, there's a chance that it could happen for sure. Brandon Guzman, D-Mac, your show blows all the other shows ones away. I appreciate that, Brandon. You're the man. I mean, look, I love all baseball shows for sure. I consume a lot of content myself, but yeah, man, I mean, this number one reason why I do this, honestly, guys, is because I am one of you guys. I truly am. I mean, I grew up absolutely loving the Los Angeles Dodgers for literally as long as I can remember, from the age of 1. I've been obsessed with this team my entire life, and you guys are my tribe. You guys are the people I talk to about it with, and you guys get me excited about Dodger baseball, so I really appreciate that. Jason, D-Mac, has the Japanese league had a better luck with arm injuries? They actually have, and that's something we can definitely dive into in another show. And I think you look at the 6-man rotation. I think you look at the fact that they are used to pitching once per week. Is that a factor? But I think also it's clean mechanics too. A lot of the mechanics, I think, are cleaner, and the velocity, the dependence on high velocity isn't the same over there. So there's a lot of factors in play for sure, but they have had better luck with keeping guys healthy. Kelly O'Shear, D-Mac, you're like that Energizer Bunny. How do you talk so much, so long on all these shows you're doing? You going to go on the IL again this season? How's your back? Wow, a lot of personal stuff there. To answer your question, man, I don't know. I will say that on my report cards when I was a kid, I always it would say talks excessively for sure. And I did have a coach tell me that I talk about baseball better than I play baseball. That's what my JV coach, Coach Atkins, told me once. But yeah, I don't know, man. I just I love talking about sports.
All those Coke Zeros.
Coke Zero, I love. Yeah, dude, I crush about like 2 or 3 Coke Zeros a day for sure. Dan C, D-Mac, are you homeboys with Fuzzy? I have met Fuzzy. He's a cool guy. I mean, and I wouldn't call us homeboys for sure, but you know what? You know what? If you want Fuzzy on the show, I'll get Fuzzy on the show. We'll make that happen. Draft Nick Mark was on the show last year. Definitely looking to connect with some of the baseball dudes over on YouTube. But I love Fuzzy. Fuzzy's a good dude. Big Guardians guy. Stephen Blevins. You know your team is deep when you DFA someone like Brasier. Facts. I mean, that's just, put that into perspective. Stephen Blevins says, Banda stole my wife. Bruh. BC says, D-Mac, when are you going to get Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts to visit the studio? That's the goal, man. That's the goal. One of these days, we got to do it. We got to do it for sure. Absolutely. Jose Aguirre, that's so dope. LOL. D-Mac going to turn Hollywood on us? Nah, man. Hey, no way. You know, I'm loyal to the soil, baby. Kelly Oshiro. Hey, I didn't know that Kirby Yates is from Hawaii. That's really cool, isn't it? Craig Osterberg, Dodgers have a variety of different types of arms to keep the other team off balance. Great point there. I mean, velocity, sliders, splitters, cutters. It's Andrew Friedman has mentioned that in the past as one of the kind of directions he wants to go with this bullpen is you can't have all guys throwing 100 miles per hour. You have to give different looks to guys to keep them off balance for sure. I like this one from Necron99. What does Shohei need to accomplish pitch-wise to get MVP this year? 15 wins, a 3.20 ERA. I mean, if he can give you 15 to 20 starts and have an ERA around 3 and give you 40 home runs, I mean, even if it's like 30 home runs, to be honest, like if it's 30 home runs and give you 15 to 20 starts at a 3 ERA, I don't even think I think it should be unanimous, just because the truth is, if he did that, there's no one on planet Earth that could do that. So I think that that's something that I would say to that for sure. D-Mac wins the meet and greet. We're working on one for sure. Keep you posted on that. Join the Discord. We'll give you more info on that. BR Madness. D-Mac has gone prestige worldwide. Wide. How do you know I love my... Don't drop some Step Brothers references for sure, man. Step Brothers is like one of my favorite movies of all time. Dan C, what's up, D-Mac? What's up, Dodgers Nation? Just tuning in, just finishing watching Game 1 again. Okay, so we're going to wrap up the show with my high five. These are my top five trades in the Andrew Friedman era. And this is a tough list because you already know what number 1 is. And yesterday was the anniversary of the Dodgers trading for Marcus Lynn Betts, initials MLB, Mookie Betts. And we'll get to that trade in a minute. But first, let's start with some honorable mentions. First, I want to talk about trading for Rich Hill and Josh Reddick. Now, Josh Reddick, I mean, I wouldn't trade a flat Sprite and a half-eaten sandwich and a better parking space for that guy, because that dude is the worst, right? After what we know now. But who remembers the waiver trade deadline? The Dodgers got Josh Reddick and Rich Hill in 2016, the last month of the season. Reddick wasn't a difference maker at all for the team, and he would end up on the trash throws after that. But Rich Hill became that guy. We all love Dick Mountain. He was one of the most beloved Dodgers pitchers in the last decade. So fun to watch pitch. And he would go on to sign a 3-year deal with the Dodgers. And what I think of when I think of Rich Hill is, with Rich Hill, he's a guy you could trust in a big game. He was a veteran in the dugout, in the clubhouse. His teammates loved him. And I have to admit, one thing that always crosses my mind, and it's easier to think about now since they've won a couple World Series since, is what if Dave Roberts doesn't take the ball from Rich Hill in Game 4 of the 2018 World Series? Puig hits the bomb. Dodgers are right back in that series. Yes, that was a much better Boston Red Sox team talent-wise, but that one still stings. I mean, you can even talk about Game 2 in 2017 against the Astros. But you look at that deal, the Dodgers give up Grant Holmes. He didn't amount to much. They also gave up Frankie Montas, who did turn out to be a really good starter for the Oakland A's. He bounced around for a couple different teams. He dealt with some injuries. I loved Frankie Montas for a couple years, but Rich Hill, that's an honorable mention. Next one for honorable mentions, I got to go with the salary dump with the Cincinnati Reds. I thought about putting this higher on the list, but if you remember back in 2018, 2019, that part of the Andrew Friedman era, it was, when's Friedman going to sign anyone to a big contract? When are we getting the Bryce Harpers of the world? And a lot of people thought that this move that sent Yasiel Puig, Matt Kemp, Alex Wood, Kyle Farmer to the Reds for Homer Bailey and 2 prospects, that was going to be the move that would lead to a big signing. And ultimately, they waived Homer Bailey. They just ate that money, but they also got 2 prospects in that deal. Who are they? Josiah Gray and Jeter Downs. Jeter Downs was used in a move we'll talk about later, and Josiah Gray was really an unheralded prospect who would end up being the top pitching prospect in the Dodgers organization that they would flip for some other players we'll talk about later. So not only did they save money, not only did they eat some of that salary from Homer Bailey, but they were able to flip both of those prospects for win-now pieces that would go on to change the franchise. Now, they didn't end up signing Bryce Harper. They ended up signing A.J. Pollock, which was a move that didn't necessarily move the needle. He dealt with injuries, but Pollo definitely, he helped for a couple years, but it wasn't that Bryce Harper move, but it was the salary dump. It was getting out of the Yasiel Puig era. Matt Kemp, he came back and he hit the home run in the World Series. He made an all-star team in 2018, but it showed a very aggressive mindset by Friedman to say, we're not just going to keep all these players that the team loves, that their fans love. We're going to do moves that we think are going to win World Series titles. Then the next move we'll talk about. So, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The next honorable mention, I gotta say Manny Machado. Manny Machado before we get to the top 5. This could have been higher on this list if it weren't for some of the moves that we saw the Dodgers make this trade deadline, the last trade deadline. But Manny Machado at the time was absolutely necessary to make another run for the World Series. If you remember, Corey Seager, he missed the entire season because he was dealing with the rotator cuff. He missed the entire year. So they had no Corey Seager that year. They end up trading for Manny Machado. We remember the selfie with Matt Kemp and Manny Machado at the All-Star game. And Machado with the Dodgers wasn't elite. I mean, he hit 273, had 13 home runs, 42 RBIs in 66 games. That does pace out to a 30 home run, 100 RBI season with great defense. So they definitely got an all-star version of a player. Then there was the Johnny Hustle issues that we saw in the World Series, not legging out what should have been a double, and it ends up as a single. Didn't really quite fit the Dodgers culture. But the reason why this is on this list is, 1, they would not have made the World Series without Manny Machado. And 2, look what they gave up. Zach Pop, he wasn't in the organization for much longer for the Orioles. Rylan Bannon, nothing. Dean Kramer has turned his career around, has been able to contribute. Kramer has been decent, but there was no Yordan Alvarez, right? No one that really made you say, we're going to regret that one. So those are my honorable mentions. Now let's get into the top 5. The top 5, I got to start with trading for Michael Kopech and Tommy Edman. Now, the reason why I have this on here is Tommy Edman essentially helped you win a World Series, right? The NLCS MVP, hit well in the World Series, but it wasn't the bat as much as he took over at shortstop when Miguel Rojas went down with the groin injury in the DS against the Padres. He played great shortstop, great base running, provided some pop, did the little things, and the Dodgers signed him to an extension. They signed him to an extension, so he's going to be here long term. So you traded guys away, and then in return, you were able to get a guy that's going to be a longer term super utility player. Then you got Michael Kopech. And velocity-wise, he's explosive. Another year of team control. He was big for the Dodgers in the postseason. You didn't have to give up too much. Miguel Vargas is somewhere being sad in Chicago, and we'll always have some love for Miggy Varg, but that's number 5. Number four on this list is Jack Flaherty. Now, you might think that maybe this is high for Jack Flaherty, and to that I say, without Jack Flaherty, you don't win a World Series in year 1 with Shohei Ohtani. The Dodgers had 3 starting pitchers, and none of them were going deep into games. Walker Buehler, you remember the excellence at the end, but it's not like he was going 7 or 8 innings. Yamamoto was coming back from that rotator cuff injury. Jack Flaherty had to step up and eat a lot of innings in the postseason. And it was a mixed bag. In October. He get 4 runs in 5 1/3 innings in the loss in game 2 but he also told Manny Machado to get the F in the dugout, which makes up for something. Then against the Mets, he was great. He had six strikeouts, had 7 shutout innings in their win. Game 5, he imploded against the Mets, gave 8 runs, but he was sick. And then in the World Series, you saw the performance there. I mean, the World Series in Game 1, he went 5 1/3 innings, had 6 strikeouts, but he did keep the Yankees' top 3 hitters to just 2 hits in 8 at-bats, gave that home run to Giancarlo Stanton. But 5 1/3 innings, based on what they were getting from their starters and the fact they won that game, it was big. Now, I did not pitch well in New York, gave up 5 runs in an inning and a thirds, gave that first inning home run to Aaron Judge and Jazz Chisholm. So there were ups and downs, but Jack Flaherty was that guy. I mean, they needed him. He stepped up. They needed a guy that could eat those innings while the offense could score runs, while the bullpen could win games. So that was big. Then coming in at number 3, I'm going Zach Lee for Chris Taylor. Chris Taylor, before the trade, he had only appeared in 86 games, had a 593 OPS. And sure, you could say Chris Taylor has struggled the last couple seasons, but in his career with the Dodgers, he has a 106 OPS plus. He's hit 108 home runs. He won the 2017 NLCS MVP, had a walk-off shot in the wild card round against the Cardinals, has made big plays in the postseason for this team, hit the bomb off of Dallas Keuchel to start the 2017 World Classic, Fall Classic. And look, Chris Taylor has done nothing wrong in his entire life. We know that, right? I don't care. The numbers are down. Zach Lee did nothing. That was a great trade for the Dodgers. Then the last 2 here, this one might be a little controversial, and I'll tell you why I have this as my number 2 best trade in the Andrew Friedman era. But it is trading for Max Scherzer and Trey Turner for Keibert Ruiz and Josiah Gray. Your top 2 prospects, because one, how awesome is it to look back and see that Ken Rosenthal tweet where he has Scherzer going to the Padres, but it's, Uno reverse card. Nope, it's actually not. It's going to LA. And not only that, Trey Turner's there too. So think about the big change of emotions. We're like, oh no, we're not getting Max Scherzer too. We're getting Max Scherzer and an all-star second baseman at the time, shortstop after Seager had signed with the Rangers. And why do I have this as number 2? Well, Trey Turner played at an all-star level. Max Scherzer was absolutely elite down the stretch, had a sub-2 ERA, had 3,000 strikeout moments, right? He had his 3,000 strikeout wearing Dodger blue, had that immaculate inning. And also, he owned the Astros when they came to town. That was huge. But without that trade, I don't think they beat the Giants in the NLDS. And yes, the Dodgers didn't win the division that year. They fell 1 game short of that Giants team with 106 wins. But I love the fact that as Dodgers fans, we can say to the Giants, hey, we played you in the playoffs and we won in your house. You're always going to have that on them. Vin Scully tweeted out before the game that he felt like that game 5 of that series was the biggest ever in the history of the rivalry. So without Max Scherzer, who closed out that game 5, without Trey Turner, who had his postseason ups and downs and had some defensive lapses the following season, still played at an all-star level, and you went out to win 111 games with him as your shortstop, that's my number 2 trade. Because you had all-stars, gave you a chance to win, and you beat that Giants team in the NLDS. I love having that over San Francisco. Then the number one is the easiest one ever. The number 1 is the easiest trade ever. This will go down as the best trade in the Andrew Friedman era. The Dodgers, they agreed to a 3-team trade with the Boston Red Sox and the Minnesota Twins to get Mookie Betts and David Price. And if you remember how it all went down, by the way, February, it's a great time for LA trades. Luka, Mookie, January, February, this is trade season for these 2 franchises. Well, Boston got Alex Verdugo and Brusdar Graterol. But wait a second. The Red Sox, they wanted to reevaluate it after Brusdar Graterol's medicals did not turn out the way they were hoping. So they wanted additional compensation. And there was a couple of days where like, oh, is the trade going to go down? You had Jock Peterson and Ross Stripling. They were supposed to go to Anaheim. And ultimately, what ended up happening in the deal is the Dodgers sent Kenta Maeda, Jair Camargo, and cash considerations to the Twins, and the Dodgers got Brusdar Graterol. So Brusdar Graterol was rerouted from Boston to LA. They also got Luke Raley and the number 67 pick in the 2020 MLB draft. And with that pick, they selected right-handed pitcher Clayton Beeter out of Texas Tech at the time. And then the Dodgers end up sending Alex Verdugo, Jeter Downs, who they got in the Reds salary dump trade, and Connor Wong to the Red Sox. And then the Red Sox, they also included some cash to pay down David Price's $96 million contract at the time. And then the funniest part about all this was that Artie Moreno, he grew impatient and did not greenlight the deal. He grew impatient, and ultimately Jock Peterson and Ross Stripling stayed with the Dodgers. What did that do? Well, Ross Stripling was huge because they needed another starter because David Price opted out of the 2020 season due to COVID. And then with the seasons that Dustin May and Tony Gonsolin had, they were able to trade Ross Stripling at the deadline. And then Jock Peterson was great. He had big home runs against the Braves in the NLCS. He had a home run against the Rays in the World Series. So it was just an incredible trade. I mean, the Boston Red Sox reportedly offered Mookie Betts a $300 million contract, and he didn't sign it. And there's a lot of people in Boston that theorize that the Red Sox were hoping that Mookie was going to play 1 year with the Dodgers. I still remember Boston fans thinking he'd never play with the Dodgers, right? Because of COVID, because they thought the season was going to get canceled, that Mookie Betts would never actually play for this team, and that after the 2020 season, Boston was going to offer him a better contract with a little more money than $300 million, and Boston was hoping to get him back. Well, guess what Andrew Friedman did? He signed Mookie Betts to a 12-year, $365 million extension before opening day, and Boston never got that opportunity. So, look, I mean, how do you describe the Luka Doncic trade in baseball terms? I think it's Mookie Betts to the Dodgers for a lot of different reasons. I mean, 26 years old, around that age, future face of your franchise, just for the simple reasons because did you not want to pay him? Well, the Dodgers, they got their first big-time superstar level player, and it was the first World Series of this era in 2020, and it starts with Mookie Betts. So you see Shohei Ohtani, you see Freddie Freeman, Roki Sasaki, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Tyler Glasnow, Teoscar Hernandez. You see all these superstars. You could trace back to Kersh before that, but really when it comes to this ownership group spending like they have been, it started with Mookie Betts, the face of your franchise until Shohei Ohtani. I've said it before, I'll say it again. This is Shohei Ohtani's franchise, but I think it's Mookie Betts' team, just seeing how he handles himself in the clubhouse and that his voice and the leadership style he has by example really resonates with his teammates. But those are my top 5 trades of the Andrew Friedman era. Let me know what you think about my list. Would you have anyone higher, anyone lower? Let me know down below. I'm sorry I did not include Lance Lynn on that list. We just gave another home run. But let me know down below. Super chat before we get out of here. Some kind of wonderful, what team is the Dodgers' top 3 biggest threats? I think it's Yankees. I think it's the Mets. The Padres are an interesting team. The Orioles. But look, I think it's not a lot is going to change, I don't think, this season. I mean, I think that you look at the American League, you look at the National League, lots of top-heavy teams. It's going to be a lot of the usual suspects. But the biggest threat to the Dodgers is the injury bug, right? I mean, it's the Dodgers versus the Dodgers. I truly do believe that. So, a couple more here. Baseline, the band. Not gonna lie, Doug, you the modern Vin Scully. Well, that's way too high praise, but Vins are good. I cannot, that means a lot. But when it comes to the Online Insider, appreciate you saying that. Thank you so much. AWash 33988. the last year of Shohei on the Angels, you could watch him pitch and sit in right field for $10. That's a big bruh. But guys, we'll be back tomorrow. Anything breaks later, we'll definitely be live for that. If you haven't yet, by the way, got a really cool interview with Sam Quinn, MLB Inside. Wrong sport. NBA Insider. We talk about the NBA trade deadline, what Lakers might do now that they've already traded for Luka. We're going to drop that in a couple hours here when we go live on the Big Lead. So go subscribe to the Big Lead. We're going to start talking a lot more baseball on that show too. Some of the remaining free agents like Pete Alonso. So go subscribe to my newest endeavor, the Big Lead. It's my show where I talk about all sports, the biggest stories you're going to find over there. But thanks again, guys, for rocking with us here on Dodgers Dugout Live. I appreciate you guys. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button, hit the like button. Join the Discord, guys. Exciting stuff over there. Remember, follow me over on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. And nothing brings us together quite like Dodger baseball. And until next time, think blue, bleed blue, and I'm out.